And welcome back. 2:47 on this Tuesday afternoon. As I promised, we were going to talk about women in sports, specifically a new online network for women can talk about sports. You know what I'm talking about, ladies. You know, after the big game and you tune into a sports network, it's predominantly, men who are hashing out the game. And there's a woman here in Ottawa that set up an online forum for women to have a louder voice. We are joined right now by Ianka Jess. Hi, Ianka.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. You've set up something called She's4Sports. Explain exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a online network for female sports fans or just women in general who like sports. I really wanted to give them a voice in the larger sports context. What I found when I spoke to friends who noticed I was either tweeting about a basketball game or if I was at a Blue Jays game, they would say, wow, you're actually tweeting about this, as if I needed permission to, enjoy the sport and engage online as a woman. And the more I started talking to colleagues, they were very, very impressed and interested and said, you know what, this is what we need. We need a space to feel comfortable, to feel inclusive in terms of speaking about sports, being interested in sports, and not feeling intimidated by sports in any way. So that's sort of the reason why I put She's4Sports together.
So traditionally, you think that women are discriminated against by tweeting out information, or what did you feel happen?
Well, I think I'll answer that in two parts because there's also a larger context to that too, in terms of how women are treated when they're online talking about sports, or if they are in the profession, in the sports profession. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. But what I found from colleagues and friends was that they didn't feel that they had a right, or that they were invited to be able to speak about sports, in a social way, whether it's online or with their partner, their boyfriend, or just out in general. They felt like, there was no space for them, or they felt a bit shy about it, or they felt like, I got, comments from people like, you're pretty brave, or that's kind of brazen for you to be live tweeting at the Raptors game or so forth. But I didn't feel myself that I had to ask anyone for permission. I felt, as a general sports fan, that if I was engaging in the game and I was there and other people were tweeting and engaging, why not? Why couldn't I not be in that space? But I think there's a bit of hesitancy from women to talk about sports, whether they're at the game. I've had another story from a friend who said she was just talking about the Blue Jays when they were doing really well last season, heading into the World Series. And she said she was at the table, at a dinner table. Her husband was there, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law, and they were all talking about the Blue Jays game. And the minute she decided to jump into the conversation, the whole table stopped talking, looked at her, and continue talking over her. So I just think that, unfortunately, that's kind of where we are still. For some people, I won't generalize that this is the experience for all women who like sports, but from what I was hearing from my colleagues, they just felt a little hesitant to jump in there and start talking about sports.
So this is going to be an online forum. So it's like it's a hashtag, or is it an at? How do you go about jumping in and being part of it?
Well, sometimes we will ask questions on She's4Sports, like, do you think the Raptors have the skill sets or the talent to win? Obviously, they've made it as far as they could and lost against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Or we'll post a story about maybe comments that were made about Serena Williams and other female tennis players by a tennis director that were obviously relating to issues on gender equity and discrimination. So just maybe having female sports fans engage in those issues and the trendier topics. So sometimes there's a hashtag, sometimes there isn't, but we just generally want to get women talking about sports, whether it's tennis, soccer, or basketball, just letting them feel comfortable that there's a space that they can weigh in and give their opinion. So that's how it's going to work online. There's another component where hopefully by the end of the year, I'll put together a salon panel discussion where we will find an issue, whether it's social media in sports and the disruption of social media, or if it's a gender equity issue. I mean, right now, obviously in the news, the U.S. women's soccer team is dealing with an issue on pay equity, that they weren't getting paid the same as their male counterparts. So we really want to get women's opinions and ideas and comments about these things. And that's where I think She's4Sports will come in and sort of give them that space to have the conversation.
Can I ask about your background? I mean, is this something that you do every day?
No, this is not something I do every day, but I do work in the communications space. I also have a background working in media, and I am a big fan of sports in general, as I said. So I think I tried to put all those three things together, and out of that came She's4Sports. And, you know, it's really so far exceeded what my expectations were originally for the network. I was able to interview a filmmaker who had a film at the Canadian Sports Film Festival. That's a film festival that just took place a couple weeks ago. At this point, it was in Toronto, but I think they have a Winnipeg. Different times of the way that the film festival works, is they have it in Winnipeg or Toronto. So this time it was in Toronto, and she brought a film to the film festival about getting young girls in Africa having sports in terms of soccer in their high school or in their schools. And they had to definitely deal with policy and religious issues and so forth where this place was. And finally, 5 years later, they were able to mandate that soccer was a part of the physical education and sports for young girls in the school. So I think She's4Sports is going to probably be larger than what I thought it initially was going to be in terms of just bringing these conversations to light and getting women to speak about it. But really, I think it's looking at universal issues, too. I mean, sometimes we have the ability to, we take things for granted. I mean, like, I went to high school and school in Canada, and I had sports at my school, and that wasn't an issue for me to be involved as a woman or a girl. And around the world, there are issues that people are dealing with in terms of sports and inclusion and equity, and I think She's4Sports has a role to play in showing the larger issues.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I mean, I think it will give young girls or someone who's just getting involved in a sport, learning about a sport, the freedom to even ask a question of another female who knows more about it. But maybe online, where it's a lot of guys, they would feel intimidated by doing that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do have women, as I said, they'll send me direct messages, or I had someone say to me, I didn't see that you tweeted about this game last night. Where were you? And I'm thinking, okay, I have to have some downtime as well too, because She's4Sports is not my main gig, but definitely a passion project. But I think sometimes women, as you noted, are relying on you to give them information and wanting to feel comfortable to come to you for that information. So yes, there's definitely a place for that. I've been able to interview some women, some sportscasters. One in particular was Megan McPeak. She's the first play-by-play announcer in Canada for a professional sport. First female play-by-play announcer. She's works for the 905 the Raptors 905, the D League. So it's good to see that there are women in North America, breaking the glass ceilings and pushing down those doors.
Absolutely.
But it also goes to show us that, we are at the same caliber as men who are broadcasting in sports, or maybe even doing, social media on sports. We're in the same caliber as they are, and we have the skill set, and we're there. And I think that's another thing that I wanted She's4Sports to show is the visual aspect of women. We are there. We are behind the cameras. We're in front. We're doing social media. We're coaching. I mean, in the States, Becky Hammond is the first NBA full-time assistant female coach for the San Antonio Spurs. So it's nice to see these things, and it's nice for She's4Sports to be able to highlight these things through an online tool.
And darn it, women are doing everything. We can talk about it, right?
We can, and that's why I always laugh when people say, as I said, if you're at a baseball game or a hockey game and they don't see you tweeting, they're going to me. They're going to She's4Sports to get their updates. Okay. I can't let you go. Okay, I need your predictions. Cavaliers. What's the other team? The Warriors.
The Warriors. Okay, Cavs or Warriors? What are you going for?
I'm going for the Warriors, but I think it's probably going to go to about a game 6.
Okay.
I'm saying Warriors game 6. Yeah.
Okay. Is it the Penguins or the Sharks? I know that. See. Pick one. Penguins or Sharks?
I want to say Penguins, but I have a colleague that left Toronto actually, and I need to interview her soon to work for the San Jose Sharks.
Okay. So the website, or is it a website yet?
No, right now we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter only, but website may come in the future. To to let you know sort of how She's4Sports started. It started in February of this year, and it's picking up really fast. So we're hoping to include the website at some point soon.
Okay. And again, it's She's4Sports.
That's correct.
Okay. Say it for me so people can get exactly the location. So She's4Sports.
She's4Sports, and you can Google it. And we're on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The Twitter handle is She's4Sports, all one word. And or S if you want to say S for S. I mean, we can have acronyms now too, but She's4Sports is the proper name.
Well, Ianka, Jess, I appreciate you talking to us about it. I think it's a fabulous idea, and I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Thanks so much.
Okay, all the best.
Take care.